Now let's take a look at how you can start building your portal ad in the Power Apps environment. So this is where you can start building one. First, you need to navigate to make.powerapps.com. Make sure you're logged in with your organizational account in which you have all the appropriate access, and make sure you are in the right environment. For this demo, we'll be using By the Devs. That is why I am in this environment, and you can also check the same for your tenants as well. Now let's see how you can start building a portal. There are multiple places where you can start building one. You can go to the home page and click portal from blank. If you do so, then it will ask you a few details about what you are going to name your portal, what is the address is going to be, and which language the portal is going to be provisioned in. We are getting this warning or this error like you have reached the maximum limit of one custom portal on this environment, because that is the limit set by Microsoft on having the number of portals in any environment. Since I have already provisioned one portal for this workshop, as it may take up to 30 to 40 minutes for the portal to provision if you are doing it for the first time. The reason behind that is like when you start creating a Power Apps portal, it imports a number of solutions in the backend which are required, like it creates some custom entities, and you can create multiple components inside of those. We'll take a look at that in a minute, but by default this limit is set to one. And if you want, you can reach out to custom support, and if there are any special cases, maybe they can raise this limit for more than one custom portals per environment. So here we can name this portal anything. So let's say I am naming this as my portal. Okay. And then for the address, you can enter anything. So let's say if I have a company e-learning, then I can give this address as elearning.microsoft.powerappsportals.com. So if this address is available, like it is, yes, it is available. So whatever I am entering as URL here, it should be globally unique. And if it's not, like it's not unique, it is not going to allow you to create this portal. Since we already have this warning, like you have received reached the maximum limit, this create button is disabled. But if let's say I enter something like my learning portal, and if I check this, okay, there is a spelling mistake, I guess. Okay, so let me check what my existing portal's URL is, and then we can, you know, try to add the same here, and then let's see what happens. So here, if I go to apps, I have this e-learning portal already in place. If I click this, yeah, so this is the URL, e-learning portal. Let's copy this and let's go back. And if I paste it here, now it's again going to check if this domain name is available. So this is not, because we already have one portal in place. It is not going to allow me to create the Power Apps portal. So this domain name should be unique anywhere. If you want, you can change this specific domain name at a later stage as well. You can do that in the admin settings. So, but this URL is going to be same, the powerappsportals.com. And in case you want to um, you know update this powerappsportal.com, there is a SSL setting you can configure. But with that also, if even if you configure that setting, the page is going to be redirected to again the same URL. You can use a different domain, but this is going to be the same. So we cannot create one, but because we have already a portal instance created here. So let's talk about what happens when I click that create button. So it runs a process in the backend which imports a number of solutions related to Dynamics portals, and it creates a portal management app for us. In this portal management app, we can configure even some minor details about or any of the page that is going to be displayed. I can change the font. I mean, that's like a smaller thing. And even if I want to change the whole page, I can do that in this app only. So whatever I'm configuring in this app, it is linked to my Power Apps portal, which is this one e-learning portal. And I can, whatever changes I am making here after clearing the cache, I can see those changes on my actual portal app. So let's take a look at the solutions first. So now here, when I created this portal, as you can see, there are a number of solutions that got created. So this is like Power Apps portals base, this is application base, and there are so many requirements that got installed automatically. I mean, this was not even I had to do a thing for installing any of these. So it may take up to 45 minutes or maybe an hour to provision this portal successfully. But once it is done, it is available to use. You can quickly go in and start making the changes. So, and that's like for the first time. If you're creating your second portal, I mean, if your limit has increased and that's the case, so then it might take lesser time because you'll have all the solutions in place already. So that's something like I wanted to flag for this one. Now let's go back at the apps and let's see what we have in the portal management app. So I opened it. This is like the master app of all your portal applications. You can configure which website your URL is going to point to, what all web pages you want to show as part of this. Let's say if I want to connect to any of my CDS entities, which form or which list or which view I want to display as part of my app. So every minor detail you can configure it here. So let's see what the site maps looks like on this portal management app. We have websites. So websites is like so when I'm creating this custom portal.powerapps.portals.com, there could be multiple sites in the backend. Sites, as in, let's take an example. I'm working on something today. I created a website, and I don't want that site to, be binded to this URL. I can create multiple websites and choose to, show any of these associated with my portal URL. Then we have page templates. Okay, so I just refreshed this page. So if I go to websites, I can see that there is one for my custom portal, which you can see is like linked here directly. So custom portal, I can have multiple websites here as well. So let's take an example of a website. So I have a different tenant, and in that tenant, in one of the environments, I am building my Para Apps portal. This could be my development environment and or anything else. So let's say I migrate my portal from that environment to this environment. The portal website that got created in this one is custom portal. And let's say I have a different type of website which has a name starter portal. In that case, the two different websites will be displayed here, and I can select which website I want to show as part of that specific URL. This is where website bindings comes into picture. So I can select, like, if this is the URL elearningportal.powerappsportals.com, I can choose to, select the website. I can see here that there is a binding for this specific portal, and the website it is linked to is custom portal. If I come here, I change this my website from custom portal to, let's say, starter portal. I mean, if there exist any other websites, if I'm going to restart this portal, I can see that it no longer points to custom portal. I'll be able to see the pages and everything for starter portal. So this is where like website bindings comes into picture. Then about the page templates, this could be anything like, so if I come here on at the home page, there are a number of page templates that you can refer to. There are some that exist out of the box, and if you want, you can create your own page templates. You can create these templates by extending any of the out of the box templates as well. So something like you start building on top of anything that exists already based on your customizations. So you can change, like, okay, I don't want this to show this header. Instead, I want to this to be a bootstrap slider where I can switch multiple images. That all can be configured here in the page templates, and you can configure something like that. Redirects, it's like if you want to set something like, if let's say someone is navigating to contact us page and that no longer exists, I can redirect them to a different one. Or let's say if there is a maintenance happening in the backend, I can set a redirect for those users to go to different pages as well. Then there are site markers. Site markers are useful in cases where I want to, set up navigation inside my pages. So let's take an example. This is the contact us page, and the partial URL for this page is contact dash us. Let's say in future I want to change it to help, and this URL changes. But if this navigation is present in, at multiple places inside each of the pages, it would be hard to track, like, okay, what are all the places where I have written that navigate to this specific page. In that case, I can create a marker. Marker would be something like, I can give this marker a name and then select which page it is going to. So instead of directly referencing slash contact dash us in our code, we can create a site marker, and it will be, pointed there directly. Even if I change this to help or help 1 2 3 4, anything in the near future, this site marker, it's going to, update it automatically, and there is no need for updating that change to any of our pages. Then there comes site setting. In this, you can set up different settings that are available for your portals. You can set up, like, okay, if there is login tracking enabled for your portal or not. If you want to set up a login throttling limit, like number of maximum attempts allowed in a specific span, or there are multiple settings to authentication related things as well. So you can also configure this footer output cache enable if you want to put that footer settings in a cache, and then if you want to enable it or not, and all those things. So this is like where you can configure each of these settings and then update it. uh, One other example of site setting is like if you want to enable global search on any of the custom entities. So in that case, you can also update it here, like search query. If I go here, I can see that this is like enabled for these many entities right now. But if I want to add any of the custom entities, let's say I want to add the entity for courses, then I can do that from this setting. So this is how, like, we can configure multiple things in the backend. Then for the settings, it's like we can see what all happened in the backend. So when I created this portal, there was a package import that got completed. So it's like it stores that and tell us this, like, okay, this is an action carried out by the system. And we can also get some related details like audit history and all those things. Now let's move forward for seeing some of the components that we have for content. This is what all we have seen till now. It's related to page templates or the portal application as a whole. But what about the content that is going to be displayed as part of it? So let's see what we have in content snippets. So content snippets are like these are reusable components again, which you can use at multiple places, at multiple pages, and you can, let's say define these. If I go to my footer, so here I can see that there is something like, okay, let's open it. I can see the value is copyright, then today's date, and we just want to show the year. So that is like I want to see today's date and time now refers to date and time, and I want to, see that detail. 1 second, I think I navigated to a different page. So I mean, the basically the point is like whatever I have here on the pages. So if I again open this footer content snippet, so it says something like this. So copyright, and then there is a symbol. I can see which year I'm currently in, and then all rights reserved. And this is what my content snippet says as well. So something like my copyright and then date, and then there is a text like all rights reserved. So anything you're configuring in the backend as like content snippets, if you're using them, the same will be reflected on the portal. Now let's see the next one, entity forms. Entity forms are used when I want to, you can say I want to show any of the forms from my entities in CDS. So something like I have a model driven app and there is a form for like creating new records or updating the existing ones and all those things, or even like a read only view of any of the forms, I can configure it here. So if I open this contact us form and open the contact page, I can see there is like a form here which asks for first name, last name, email, phone number, and all those things. There is a topic, description, what you want to, and there is a submit button. So this is all like entity form which I have configured here in the which is configured in the backend app, something like contact us form, and the entity it's referring to is lead. Then there is like I can select which form I want to display. So in Power Apps portal, if you're trying to configure any of the entity forms, then you can create new main forms. Only main type is supported, so it's like eh, whenever you are trying to create a new form, use the main type form. And then if you have multiple tabs as part of your form, you can select like individual tabs as well. If I want to show general, and let's say there is one as advanced as well, so I can select if I want to show the general details or the advanced details. Keeping it blank will show all the tabs one by one. It will be like one a tab below the other one and all that. Then I can select which mode I want to, show this form in. So if I talk about like performing an update option on the any of the entity record, there could be three things. One, I just want to view the details. Second is like I want to edit an existing one, and third is like I want to create a new one. In that case, I can select the mode as insert for creating a new record, edit for existing, and for updating an existing record, and then read only is like you can see the details and not make any updates. So if I select insert, I see that there is no additional details it is required. And if I select edit, now you'll observe that it asks for record source type. Why this is needed is like if I am going to edit a record, I should specify which record I want to, edit. All the records that exist in CDS, they have their unique identifier, which is in the form of a GUID. So you can select something like a query string, and then whatever ID parameter you're passing it here, it will contain that GUID ID. So my URL is going to look something like, let's ignore this app for now. It will look something like question mark ID equals to, and then the GUID you have for that specific record. This is where like you can select from the query string, or if there is anything like you have just one record per current a portal user. In that case, you can select these other two options as well, record associated to current portal user or current portal user. Then you can select which website you want to display this as part of. Again, so if you have multiple websites, you can choose which form is going to be displayed as part of which website. So this is like custom portal will be displayed as part. Sorry, this contact us form will be displayed as part of this custom portal website. So moving forward, then we have this enable entity permissions, which is like, so just some time ago, we talked about how you can configure the entity permissions. So this is like, I only want authenticator the users to see this page. In that case, what I can do is like, I can enable this entity permissions. And if I scroll down in the site map, I can see there is a entity permissions tab. In that, I can select any of the individual entities and assign roles to it. So if I enable this will, inherit all the permissions and be only visible to the selected roles or something. And if this entity permissions is not checked, so it's like it will be visible to anyone without having to be able to, have roles or access to anything. So this is like if you want your data to be visible publicly, you can leave it as is. But if your data is critical and you want to, protect it from unauthorized access, then you can enable this setting and set up the entity permissions. So let's look at entity permissions first, and then we can go back to entity lists. So if I come to entity permissions here, I can see that there is a contact us access permission already in place. Let's open that. And so this is like a name and then the entity I want to give access on. So here the access is given on lead entity, then the website. So this record is loading right now because that's why it's not like it's blank. But once the record is loaded, you can see that it's like what website it is pointing to and what is the scope of it. You can set the scope for global or for contact or like account, parent, self, and all these settings here. Then you can also select like what privileges you want to give the user to. So now that the page is loaded, I can see it is related to custom portal. And this is like some of the sections that were visible earlier are now hidden because the scope is selected as global. If I select this as contact, it asks me for contact scope, like which contact relationship I want to work this on. Let's say if I have an entity and I am having an end-to-end relationship on contacts entity, then I can select that here. But for now, let's go with the global, and it's like applied to anyone um, in you can say to anyone that exists as part of these web roles. So here, let's go to the privileges, read, write, create, delete, append to. So you can select all these granular level details of like which entity should have permissions and what permissions are they going to be. Is it just going to be read access or write access and all those things. So this is like how you can configure entity permissions for different things. One last thing about this is like you can also assign web roles to these. Web roles take this as an example of categorization where you're putting multiple users in a group. So let's say I have 10 users and I only want 5 of them to be able to access this entity permission. What I can do is I can create a web role like, okay, restricted web role. Let's name it restricted web role. And when I go to that web role, I can associate those 5 contacts with that role. So something like here, if I open this web role in next tab, administrator, I can, add multiple contacts as well, like what all contacts this role is going to be, uh, enabled on. So here there is nothing, but I can select the contacts from related records here. Now it loads like, okay, only Ritika Agrawal has administrator web role, but if I want someone else to be added to the same, I can do so. So I mean here, I think this is taking some time to load. Or if the option is not enabled here, you can go into each of the individual contacts and add those web roles. So we can take a look at that later. But now let's go to the entity lists. So entity lists is for rendering the views you have in your CDS entities. So let's say we don't have anything, but if I'm going to create a new entity list, I can give this a name. I can select the entity I want to display, which website it is going to be a part of. Then there are some additional settings for views. So here the entity is loading. In the meanwhile, let's name this as my courses something. I mean, this is like I'm adding some dummy data here. We'll be configuring that later for our demo. So I want to show the courses. Okay, I'm not finding that entity right now. So let's go with the case incident. I can select which site is it is going to point to, so custom portal. Now I can add things like views, what views I want to, display as part of this. I can select different views like active cases and what I mean all the views that exist as part two of this entity. So these things I can configure. Since it is going to be displayed as a grid of items, I can select like the total number of records that are going to be displayed on a single page. Then you can, toggle between multiple pages like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 and so on. So that's something. Then this like web page for details view, it's like a very important setting that you need to configure if you're working with where you're showing the list and then you want to see the details of those or edit any of these. So web page for details view, you can select the web page and then so if I'm selecting anything from this uh, grid, it is going to append this id parameter. So like when we configured our form just some time ago, there was this id query string as well, like how should I identify the record which will be displayed in the form. So this is where it comes from. I can select the web page for detail, and if I'm going to select, let's say, record A, it is going to automatically append the ID of that record in URL. So that is how like you can configure it easily. And then you can also select the web page that you'll be using for creating of any of the new records. So this is for editing an existing record, and this is for like creating a new record. You can also enable entity permissions on entity lists as well. So this is like, okay, if I enable this, I need to provide which web roles will have access to and what is the level of their access on this specific entity. And then we have this feature for enabling the search. So if I enable this, there will be a search bar. So let's say if I come here, okay, so right now it's not enabled, but let's take an example of this form. A search bar will be displayed somewhere here. Yeah. So you can, okay, this is a form, but for a list, it will be something like you're seeing above the grid and you can search in details about those. So this will work on all the searchable columns that exist in your entity. Then you can enable specific filter conditions and metadata filter as well. The difference between the two is like filter conditions, it's like if you set this to your contact or your account, they'll be configured automatically in the backend, and the person who is using the portal, they cannot change it. But with metadata filter, you can add additional things like, okay, so if I am seeing a course here, let's say I am showing a detail of 10 courses, and I only want to see the courses that are starting in, let's say, June. So I can filter those, and those can be filtered as part of this metadata filter. I can add specific filters, like if I want to put a text filter or an attribute filter, like if I have an option set and I want to filter only those values which have a specific value as like, let's say, um, yes or no or something, I can configure that using an attribute filter sets. Then if I want to filter between for a relationship that exists for lookup, I can add it here. I can select what is the relationship that it is going to, refer to. That is all based on the entity I have selected here in the top. So cases entity, and then I can select like, okay, which relationship it is going to work on and what is the selection mode. I can choose between checkboxes, radio buttons, and drop down list. And then there's like a display name I want to give to this. So let's say we select this contact relationship, I can add this option like, okay, I want this value to be this, where the value is like this, and I want the display name to be something. So all these settings you can configure here in the entity list. Now let's go to web files. Okay, we don't want to save it, discard. So web files are something like if you have any image files or any CSS files, JavaScript files, anything that you want to, show on your portal, or anything that you want to refer it, let's say a CSS file that will be referred across pages, you can upload the files here. Web forms are something like if you have a process that goes on in steps, then you can create multiple web forms for those and carry out the process from end to end. Then we have web link sets. It's like, let's take an example of navigations only. So we have primary navigation, profile navigation. If I come back to this portal again, so whatever I'm seeing here, home, contact us, and the search bar, sign in, this is all a web link set. And if I want, I can create a secondary navigation here as well. So that can be linked if I open any of these. So let's say if I open this primary navigation, I can see what links it has. So it has home and contact us. So like whatever we are seeing here, and this search is like enabled through some other web link set. So this is like you can configure multiple navigations without having to, write the code for it from scratch. Then you can add different portal languages as well. So you can choose like what all languages your portal is going to, render the pages, and you can set those portal languages. Then we have web pages. This is like the main component of any portal. So the pages that are going to be displayed. So if I'm seeing this contact us page, this is like a web page, and I can open it and configure it. So let's open this contact us page. Okay, so now I can see that, okay, the parent page is home page, the partial URL is contact us. If I change this to, let's say, contact us 666, so if I have any, manual navigations or redirections in the pages, it is going to, break my code. But this is where I can use site markers and, update this URL. So it is linked to my contact us record, not this partial URL. So even if I change this to anything, it is still going to remain the same. So you can set up multiple properties about these pages and everything. You can select if you want to show any web form as part of this, or an entity list, or contact us form. So as on this contact us web page, we have this contact us form. That's why I can see, okay, it is getting rendered here. The layout of where this form or this list is going to display, it's controlled at the web template level. So if I go to web templates, I can see that okay, so the the navigation is changed, but it is still going to work, if I try, I just need to update this URL, nothing else. um so for the web templates, as you can see on the screen, there are like multiple sources, or you can see the lines of code that you're seeing for a specific web template. This is like you can either write an HTML code here, or you can reference Liquid templates inside of it. Liquid is like open source language that you can use to, filter out your data from CDS, or perform multiple actions on any of the data, and display multiple, you can embed multiple content snippets as part of your template and all those things. You can create variables, you can create site markers, all those things you can do using Liquid and in these web templates. So moving forward, we have these few left here. So contact is like, when I'm going to, log into this portal, a contact record will be created for me. If I am logging in as Ritika Agarwal, a contact is created for me. But if I'm going to, let's say, log in with some XYZ user, as soon as I sign up for this portal, a contact record will be created for them. So if I open this page here, I can see like all the details about this contact. So I mean, I have not filled anything apart from my email ID and my name. But if you want, you can set up the web roles as well from here. So if I select the contact, it loads all the related data, and I can select with what all web roles this specific user is going to have. So right now I'm just an administrator, and if there are anything else, let's say anonymous user, authenticated users, and if I want to place myself in the category of instructors as well, so this is where I can, select multiple web roles for my specific contact. Every contact will be associated to some login. So whenever I am creating a login on the portal, this is automatically registered here. we have already covered entity permissions. Now let's see the invitations. So invitations are required where we want to invite other users to this portal. So they don't need to come in and sign up as a new user. We can create an invitation for those people, and with that invitation there is a unique code that is generated every time. So with that you can say with that code you can select sign in, and then if I want, there is an option of redeem invitation. So let's see how this page looks like when it is getting rendered for sign in. Okay, in the meanwhile, this is like opening. When we are creating an invitation, we can select once this invitation is redeemed, which account do I want to, add this as part of. So let's say I have been working with two companies, company A and company B, and I'm inviting a person A, which works at company B. Okay, so when I am creating this invitation, I can specify like, okay, this invitation is for person A who is working in company B. I can select like which account I want to, associate this to. So let's say that is like automatically linked once the invitation is redeemed. Okay, so this page is loaded now. Let's see what we see in the redeem invitation tab. So when we create an invitation, this code is generated, and if we enter this code here in the invitation code and click register, it is going to ask for some basic details like first name, last name, and then the email address. And by giving all that information, you can sign up and create that account by an invitation. Then there are some publishing state transition rules which are really um so we can skip those for now. Then we have web page access controls. So this works in scenarios where I want to restrict a specific web page based on web roles. Let's say I have a page, my students, and my students should only be visible to instructors. So that is something you can configure here. You can give this a name, then the website and the right, and then you can select the web page, and finally you can select which web roles you want to give this access to. So web roles we have talked about already, and we have this web page access controls for at pages level, and then we have access permissions at website level. So these are like two different at two different levels. Then if you want to add some ads or your polls on the pages, you can add those, and they can be configured easily within your portal pages. For administration, if you don't want to build that from here directly, you can use this create portal content, and you can create select which template you want to use or what your page is going to look like. So this is like so if I open this create portal content, I can specify like what is the page, what is the website, what is the page name title, what is its layout, and what is the partial URL, and all those things. I mean, if I select this from here, they are automatically going to create these web pages and all those records for me. So this was like the gist of Power Apps portal management app, and how you can configure individual settings for the Power Apps portal site. Now let's take a look at how you can start build open when you open that Power Apps portal in edit mode, and how you can set up the configurations and all those things. Let's see that next.